Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the Music News Power Hour from the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. We are going to be looking at some breaking news in the music industry. Today's headlines coming right up for you here. We're going to be starting our show and our broadcast in just a few moments. Don't forget, you can use the plus sign at the bottom of the room to ping your friends in so they can join the discussion. Or if you'd like to join the discussion as we read through our headlines today, feel free to raise your hand. Chime in the chat. We are also on video stream, so you can join us by visiting our website and tune in on the video stream to not only listen but watch us in real time. You can also visit our website to follow along with the headlines as we go through them today. Our website is musicindustrycity.com. Thanks for joining us today. Stay tuned. We're going to be starting here in just a few moments with our countdown and with our headlines of the day. Make sure that you tap the greenhouse at the top of the room to follow the club and stay updated. You can also register for free on our website, musicindustrycity.com, for all kinds of incredible content for musicians and music industry pros. Thanks for joining us, and please do visit our website today. We begin our countdown right now.
It's Tuesday, the 29th of June, and this is the Music News Power Hour on the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. I'm Peter Schwing, and please join me in welcoming my co-host, Eli Window.
Hi, Peter, and hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I can't wait to get started.
Right on. And Angela has the day off. In today's news, we are going to be talking about, Damon Dash fires back at Rockefeller over the NFT. Walmart removes Kanye's ripoffs. TikTok's new features, and how do they pay royalties? Plus, Sony Australia faces a possible lawsuit, and a Doomsday vault for music recordings. As always, our Spotify update. These stories right up. But first, let's take a look at this day in history with Eli Window.
All right, let's do. On this day in history, we remember American singer and songwriter Tim Buckley, who died on this date, 1975, of an overdose of heroin and morphine. He was aged 28 at the time. He released 9 albums in his career, including the 1972 release, Greetings from LA. Buckley is the father of singer-songwriter Jeff Buckley, in memory. And on this date, June 29th, 1979, we lost American singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer Lowell George, who died of a heart attack. The Little Feat frontman was found dead at the Keybridge Marriott Hotel in Arlington, Virginia. George joined Zappa's Mothers of Invention as rhythm guitarist in 1968, in memory. And on this date last year, June 29th, 2020, American singer and songwriter Benny Mardones died, aged 73. He scored the hit single Into the Night, in memory. Moving on, birthdays today. Born this date, 1948, Ian Pace, English musician, best known as the drummer of Deep Purple. Born this date, 1953, Colin Hay, Scottish-Australian musician with Men at Work. And born this date, 1978, Nicole Scherzinger. She is singer for Eden's Crush and the Pussycat Dolls. And finally, born June 29th, 1983, Audra Fimbres, American singer with Danity Kane. They became the first female group in Billboard history to have their first 2 albums open at the top of the charts. Happy birthday. Moving on to this day in history. On June 29th, 1988, Brenda Ritchie, the wife of Lionel Richie, was arrested in Beverly Hills, California, after allegedly hitting the singer and a young woman she found after she found them in bed together. Brenda Ritchie was released on $5,000 bail, and charges against her were eventually dropped. On this date, 1999, Michael Jackson suffered severe bruising after falling over 50 feet when a bridge collapsed during a concert at Munich's Olympic Stadium. Jackson was singing Earth Song at the time of the accident. On this date in the year 2000, Eminem's mother went to court claiming defamation of character in a $10 million lawsuit. That's 5.8 million pounds. This was a civil suit after his mother took exception to the line, "My mother smokes more dope than I do," from her son's single, My Name Is. And finally, on this date, June 29th, 2004, Courtney Love was reprimanded by Los Angeles judge Melissa Jackson for turning up 5 hours late to a hearing. Love pleaded guilty to a single charge of disorderly conduct and was given a discharge on condition she paid the victim's medical bills, joined a drug program, and stayed out of trouble. Yes, stayed out of trouble. And that's it for this day in music history. Back over to you, Peter.
Right on. Thanks for that, Eli. I mean, I don't know. Courtney Love staying in or out of trouble, is that possible?
I was just gonna say, that how I'm curious to know kind of how that unraveled because Courtney Love's staying out of trouble. I would just be curious to see how that unraveled. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, in our Good Day room just earlier, Dave Laurie was in, who used to manage Courtney Love for a few years, way back in the 90s. I'm sure he probably would have had some interesting stories to share. And with speaking of stories, let's talk about the news. This is where we summarize the most essential news in the fast-paced music industry. I'd like to thank everyone who is viewing the show on our video stream as well. And to set the stage for the roundtable conversation, we begin by reading key sections of media pieces. If you'd like to provide commentary on one of today's topics, raise your hand during the reading. To stay up to date on this and other programming, you can register for free at musicindustrycity.com to obtain access to exclusive content. And remember to follow all our co-hosts and commentators as they take the stage. Now let's get to it. All right, and this first piece is from Music Business Worldwide. And to access all the articles mentioned in today's show and throughout the week, visit musicindustrycity.com and click on the show notes graphic. That's right. You can go click on the show notes graphic right at musicindustrycity.com to see today's headlines, the links, and all throughout the week, plus all our other links to our daily brief podcasts, to our show notes, to resources, to everything else that we're doing. All right, Tencent ups investment in Spotify rival Ghana as music streaming service raises $40 million in new debt financing. Tencent Holdings already owns more than a third of India-based Spotify rival Ghana, and now it looks to increase that stake. That's because Ghana, majority owned by Times Internet, has just raised an additional $40 million in debt financing from China-based Tencent's European entity, Tencent Cloud Europe. According to Intracker, Ghana has revealed in a new regulatory filing that's raised approximately $40 million from Tencent, issuing over 47,000 Series C optionally convertible debentures, and at an issue price of $850 per share. In addition, reports Intracker, Ghana has also passed a special resolution to increase the limit of external commercial borrowings to $90 million to facilitate getting funds from Tencent Cloud Europe. The latest debt financing round follows the music platform's raise in September of $51 million in debt to help finance its growth. And that $51 million came from two existing investors. And at the time, according to financial filings in India, the move saw Tencent's ownership stake increased to more than a third while diluting Times Internet stake to 60%. The tracker estimates Ghana's value after the latest debt raise to be around $570 to $580 million. That is up from an estimated $530 million September following their previous debt raise from Tencent. So it's also important to note that it was reported in March that the Ghana CEO Prashant Agrawal was leaving the company after an internal note confirming that he would be stepping down. And then the new CEO is reported to be Gautam Singha, who is also CEO of Times Internet, Ghana's biggest shareholder. Moving over, we're going to talk about Sony. Sony Music Australia faces possible class action lawsuit from former employees. Last week, longtime Sony Music Australia CEO Dennis Hanlon exited the company after multiple current and former employees levied toxic workplace allegations. Now, a number of former staff members are reportedly considering filing a class action lawsuit against the Big Three record label. The alleged prevalence of toxic workplace practices and sexual misconduct at Sony Music Australia entered the spotlight back in April when higher-ups dismissed VP of Commercial Music Tony Glover with immediate effect. An employee had filed a formal complaint against Glover in February, per the Sydney Morning Herald, prompting Sony to enlist senior counsel to investigate the claims. These external investigations then uncovered several complaints from other Sony Australia employees, including inappropriate conduct at work functions, and observes reportedly corroborated at least one individual's statements. Glover, it bears noting, denied the accusations and emphasized that he hadn't before been sanctioned by the company. Nevertheless, reports of Glover's alleged misconduct appear to spur other Sony Australia employees yet to come forward with their own toxic workplace experiences. Specifically, over a dozen current and former team members spoke about alleged wrongdoing within the workplace, including but not limited to sexual harassment and HR's failure to address and investigate numerous instances of the latter. Interestingly, one anonymous source specified that Sony music execs had known about the workplace culture claims since at least the mid-1990s, and another external investigation pertaining this time to the newest of complaints, which don't directly involve Tony Glover or Dennis Hanlon himself, is ongoing. Pat Hanlon, Dennis's son and VP of A&R, as well as HR Director Michael Stebnicki, have been placed on indefinite leave, however. A separate report from The Guardian elaborated upon the timetable associated with the alleged misconduct of toxic workplace, with former Sony music execs stating that 10 higher-ups had been summoned to New York in 1998 as part of an inquiry into a complaint about workplace culture within the Australian division. The probe resulted in Hanlon being suspended for about 3 months, one of the higher-ups disclosed. And as initially mentioned, 12 former Sony Music Australia staff are considering moving forward with a class action lawsuit over their experiences while employed there. The Sydney-based lawyer informed the Sydney Morning Herald that she's been approached by a number of women who are seeking legal advice in relation to claims of bullying and harassment during their time at Sony Music Australia. One of these women has also enlisted McDougall's law firm to provide representation on an individual basis as Sony Music's aforementioned investigation continues, and a different former SME and Australia employee specified that she doesn't feel comfortable dealing directly with the company. And as the time of writing, Sony didn't have an appear to comment publicly on the class action lawsuit. Going over to Complete Music Update. This one's been going on for a few days now, started last week. Damon Dash hits back at Rockefeller lawsuit over alleged reasonable doubt copyright NFT. It just seems to get more and more confusing. Damon Dash has formally responded to legal action by Rockefeller Records, the label he co-founded and co-owns, which seeks to stop him from selling the rights to Jay-Z's debut album, Reasonable Doubt, via an NFT drop. The court should not issue a motion to that effect, Dash argues, because he has never tried to sell the rights to Jay-Z's debut album, Reasonable Doubt, via an NFT drop. Oh, and the law firm representing Rockefeller should be chucked off the case due to a conflict of interest. Rockefeller, which is co-owned by Dash, Jay-Z, and Kareem Burke, filed legal papers earlier this month and subsequently secured a temporary injunction. The label claims that Dash had tried to sell the rights in Reasonable Doubt via NFT platform Superfarm. Had that happened, the buyer would have acquired those rights with the transfer of ownership logged into an NFT on the blockchain, except those are not Dash's rights to sell. The sale was called off, but the label said it suspected Dash would try to stage another auction on another platform, so the temporary injunction banned Dash from involving himself in any transaction in any way connected to the rights in Reasonable Doubt, oblivious of whether or not any such transaction involved any kind of NFT nonsense. Dash initially responded via the legal forum known as TMZ, stating that he never tried to sell any of the rights in Reasonable Doubt, but had instead been seeking to sell his stake in the label. The buyer of that stake wouldn't have direct control over the rights in the album. Those would stay with the label, with Jay-Z being in control, but they would get Dash's cut of any money generated. So this is getting even more where it's now in public instead of even having the legal. It goes back to Universal and Triller. It reminds me of that battle going on where they just put out press releases. So if you're using TMZ as your platform. All right, so it goes on that Dash says that the lawsuit is basically part of an ongoing attempt by Jay-Z to acquire his stake in Rockefeller at the below market rate. He goes on to say, this entire lawsuit is part and parcel of an ongoing course of conduct employed by Jay-Z to prevent Dash from lawfully selling 1/3 interest in Rockefeller so that Jay-Z can acquire the same for an amount far below its potential market value. Elsewhere, the filing states, it is undisputed that Rockefeller is a corporation formed under the laws of New York with three shareholders, each owning one-third of Rockefeller. It is equally undisputable that there are no restrictions on any of these three shareholders from freely transferring, selling, assigning their interest in Rockefeller. So it goes on and even deeper. I just don't understand, why does he have to try to sell this as an NFT? If you're selling your stake in a company, isn't there a more traditional way, of opposed to like making it all confusing by saying I'm putting up reasonable doubt as an NFT and then trying to actually sell my share in the company?
I don't know, but I wonder, if part of that wasn't an attempt to lose some folks in the fine print. Who's to say? I'm not sure, but that's what it feels like to me, is getting lost in the fine print. I don't know if anyone listening feels the same way.
I just don't get it. Why? I mean, there's more secure and better ways. I mean, selling your stake in a company is like, here. It's like putting out, like, here's an NFT. Go buy my stake. I don't see how that works. But hey, you never know.
Does
Well,
that mean that, for example, if you're selling real estate, can you make an NFT of the real estate and just sell that instead of
uh,
the house?
that's actually happening. I think it was the co-founder of TechCrunch who was selling an apartment. He was selling an apartment on NFTs. So yeah, I mean, it's there, and you can put all the contract into the blockchain. But isn't there a better way of just selling your stake in the company as opposed to putting it up on an auction block? I mean, I guess he's trying to. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm going to get on to the next lawsuit. We're going to talk about Kanye and Walmart. All right. Walmart removes ripoff clogs following Kanye West lawsuit, but other imitations emerge. All right. So Walmart has removed a certain clog style foam shoes after being named in a lawsuit from Kanye West, though similar footwear products remain available for purchase on different platforms. If you want to see what they look like, you can go to digitalmusicnews.com and check out the article. And you can find those headlines directly from Music Industry City, the show notes at musicindustrycity.com. Kanye West submitted the complaint to a California federal court last week, alleging that Walmart was flagrantly capitalizing upon the popularity of Yeezy brand by selling the imitation footwear. Customers, the firmly worded lawsuit alleged by disclosing Walmart.com reviews and social media posts, were purchasing the decidedly less expensive knockoffs due to the resemblance to the authentic foam runner. Okay, so while the similarly looking shoes allegedly sold in Walmart were virtually indistinguishable from the originals, they were also of subpar quality, leading to damage both in terms of diminished sales and the reputation of the authentic product by Yeezy, per the suit from Kanye. Walmart, which in April formally opposed West's proposed logo for Yeezy, stated that it too closely resembled its own corporate symbol, promptly responding to reports of the complaint in a statement emphasizing that individual sellers and not the company itself were offering the shoes. Quote is, the product referenced is the complaint is not sold by Walmart, but rather by third-party marketplace sellers, relayed in the Bentonville, Arkansas headquarters companies. We take allegations like this seriously and reviewing the claim. We will respond in court as appropriate after we have been served with the complaint. Furthermore, Walmart removed the items in question from its website as initially mentioned, with searches for Yeezy foam runners returning to 0 results as of Monday afternoon. But there are that popping up all over the place and raising questions about whether Kanye will pursue legal action against the additional entities. You can check this out on eBay. Foam runners, which resulted in, from the lowest price to the high price, produce all manner of clog-style items, some of them which include Kanye West in their titles. All right, moving on to the Recording Academy. Recording Academy invites over 2,700 more members to vote on the Grammys. The move comes as part of the Academy's push for diversity among its voting ranks. This year, 55% of new invitees are from underrepresented groups, with around 48% who are women. The number of new invitees is also up compared to previous years. In 2020, the Recording Academy invited around 2,300 new members. In 2019, they invited around 1,300 new members, with around 41% coming from underrepresented backgrounds. The 2021 Recording Academy invitees are broken down by demographic, and that's 32% Black or African American, 13% Hispanic or Latin, 4% Asian or Pacific Islander, and 6% non-white individuals. Some other stats include 11% of them are music producers, 66% are engineers, and another 7% represent other music crafts. Of the new invitees, not all are voting members for the Grammys. Some are just serving as professional members. So this is good to see. I mean, this is, we're seeing this turnaround, and they put their foot down to the pedal. It's great to see them making all these changes. It's been far too long, and they're really just going hard. I applaud the new management, the new the C-suites, everybody taking care of this. And with
It's
that,
really beautiful
yeah,
to see the representation of everyone and how things have kind of changed in the last 12 months for some in some respects.
yeah. Well, Eli, since we have you on the mic, this is usually when I throw over to you anyway.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We want to remind you to ping your friends into the room at this time. Not everyone can see our room out in the hallway, so make sure that you ping your friends in if you think they are interested in these headlines or if you think they might want to join the discussion. If you would like to join the discussion, you can chime in the chat. If you're watching us on video stream, hi to all of our stream watchers. And we want to remind you that you can raise your hand to comment or bring up any questions about any of the articles that we're covering today or any day in the Music News Power Hour. We are here at noon Eastern each weekday, Monday through Friday. That is 12 p.m. Eastern. We have all the music news headlines that you care to listen to and discuss. And again, we're here Monday through Friday, so make sure that you join us right here each and every weekday with all the news that we care to listen to and discuss. Make sure to tap the greenhouse icon at the top of the room to join the club. You can get updates on all kinds of information through Clubhouse, and you can also tap each of the moderators' profiles to follow the moderators in this room. The moderators are the speakers with the green moderator icon on the stage. Make sure that you join us once again tomorrow. And before we head out and back over to Peter, I want to take a look at our next headline. This is from Melody VR. This is coming to us from musically.com. We see that Melody VR ended 2020 with 325,000 users and an unfortunate £26 million operating loss. Since completing its merger with Napster, music startup Melody VR has adapted the company's brand. However, this morning it published financial results for its last full year before the deal to December 28th, 2020. Bright spots included nearly doubling its users to 325,000 users and selling around 40,000 tickets for a streamed Liam Gallagher concert. Less bright spots, however, include, the financial results from these events. Melody VR's revenues did grow sharply from 195,000 £195,000 in 2019 to 988,000 pounds in 2020. This is a growth of around 1.4 million US dollars. However, its cost of sales also grew from 1.8 million pounds to 5.6 million pounds estimated, while administrative expenses grew from an estimated 14.2 million pounds to 21.5 million pounds. In other words, these costs and expenses combined were more than 27 times the company's revenues, leading to an operating loss of 26 million. However, the newly merged business remains optimistic. We expect to launch an updated version of Napster towards the end of Q4 2021 that combines the numerous content types that the legacy Napster and Melody VR platforms represented into a single offering, explained Chairman Simon Cole in these results. He continues, we have a clear plan for monetization of the new platform. Subscriber growth will be at our core, initially focusing on relationships with both existing and new telco partners as 5G mobile networks roll out across the globe and our partners look to showcase their own technology. Once again, if you'd like to read more about this, you can visit our website and check out the show notes link where this and all of our headlines are listed. That is musicindustrycity.com. Over to you, Peter.
All right, thanks for that, Eli. All right, this is from Newsweek, and this article, it reminded me of hearing the stories of back in the day when record sales were based on distribution as opposed to sales, and there was that Netflix show, not documentary, but it's almost like a documentary. It's that Netflix show about the music business. I can't remember what it was called. I think it lasted a season or two. And there was a scene. It was like, hey, just take those records and go bury them in a landfill upstate. So this one is talks about 50,000 rare Butcher Beetle record covers may be buried in a Massachusetts landfill. All right, so the original Yesterday and Today record cover, taken by photographer Richard Robert Whitaker, featured the Beatles wearing butcher's coats and holding a baby doll parts and meat. The covers for the album, released in the U.S. in June of 1966, which can sell for thousands of dollars today, are often said to have been a statement against the Vietnam War. Before its release, the cover met with a backlash among some who had seen advanced copies, including DJs and reviewers, prompting the record label to make a U-turn. A Boston Globe article from June 25, 1966, shared on Twitter today by musician and journalist Ryan Walsh, reported that the move cost Capitol Records $250,000, which would be the equivalent of approximately $2 million today. According to the article, about 750,000 albums featuring the original cover were distributed for release, only for the distributors to be told to send them back. The records were then removed from the sleeves and repackaged in new covers before being shipped back to distributors. The cover that made it onto the shelves featured the band posing around a trunk. A spokesperson told the Globe at the time that the cost of repackaging the records wiped out the profit that the album would make. But what happened to the Butcher record sleeves after the records were repackaged? Thousands of them may be buried in a town in southwest of Boston. Also, she shared a memo dated June 28, 1966, in which local distribution manager Joe Sobek wrote that 50,000 Beatle record covers had been destroyed by June 27th. According to the memo, the records were destroyed by being buried in a water-filled hole in a swampy part of Needham Town dump. He told the national distribution manager, quote, by the time the hole was ready for us, it had filled with water. The jackets were dumped on the ground as close as possible to the hole, and then a bulldozer pushed the jackets into a hole. The hole was then covered with about 1 to 2 feet of dirt and will be subsequently be covered with garbage, which will be recompacted as time goes by. So just a little fun piece of history. I'm sure it's like, nobody's going to go trying to dig up the ground in a garbage dump to find them, though. Let's move on over to the UK, which we have had nothing but stories about the government not supporting live music and shutting things down and trying to reopen. Well, people have had enough. And over the weekend, thousands of people marched through London for Save Our Stage protest. On Sunday, June 27th, protesters gathered in London's Regent Street to call for government action on the reopening of nightclubs and music venues. Thousands joined the march with placards parading through London, accompanied by 5 music truck stages where DJs played throughout the day. The demonstration was born out of frustration for the government's lack of support for the industry and the sustained shutdown of nightlife. Earlier this month, the government announced a pushback to the final stage of restrictions lifting, which was initially supposed to go ahead on June 21st. As a result, the events industry has been hard hit. With a lack of financial support and many clubs already on a financial cliff edge prior to the pushback, around 75% of commercial spaces, including nightclubs and venues, now face bankruptcy. The Freedom to Dance protest ran via the Save Our Scene campaign, which has previously held similar protests across the country. By the end of the evening, riot police moved in to move protesters away. They are saying on their Instagram, they are saying, we are demanding that the government ends all restrictions on the hospitality sector without further delay. Enough is enough, and we can't stay silent anymore. With the recent spike in COVID cases, the government planned to keep restrictions in place until July 19th. Speculation that this could be moved to July 5th is now circulating, with new health secretary Said Javid due to address the comments. Also, they were talking about 75% potentially going into bankruptcy. They have announced that in another article that over 50% of festivals have canceled for the remainder of 2021. What year is this? 2021. Sorry about that. All right. Well, it's talking about creating a Doomsday vault. And there is, I've seen a documentary, I think it's floating around either on Netflix or one of those YouTubes, or you can Google it, about this place. And this comes from Billboard. And this is Norwegian firm creating Doomsday Vault for music recordings. Article starts off, an Arctic island near the North Pole will play host to music from the Beatles to indigenous tribes for at least 1,000 years. Buried almost 1,000 feet below a snow-covered mountain on an Arctic island midway between Norway and the North Pole, a Norwegian company is planning to create what it says will be a doomsday vault to preserve the world's most important music recordings for at least 1,000 years. Using future proof digital storage, the Oslo based Lyre Management Group wants to store recordings of everything from major label pop hits like the Beatles to Australian indigenous music with the same safeguards offered by the Arctic World Archive and the Global Seed Vault to existing storage facilities housed underground in the Svalbard area. The Arctic World houses copies of historical artifacts like Vatican Library manuscripts and paintings by Rembrandt and Munch, while the Global Seed Vault is a backup storage facility for the world's genetic resources. Both are designed to withstand natural and man made disasters, including nuclear attacks. The need for safe and secure long term storage for recordings hasn't been a pressing concern for nearly as long as that for manuscripts, but several recent events have underscored its importance. In 2008, a fire at a Universal Studios backlot destroyed a significant number of tapes archived by Universal Music Group, including some masters, although the company had secondary copies of many of them. Digital storage presents other issues. MySpace confirmed in 2019 that a server migration led to the loss of up to 50 million uploaded tracks. That's the danger of migrating onto a new hard drive or data center every 5 years. The data is hard to keep track of, and files get lost or deleted. The three majors and many independents already store physical and digitized music files in multiple geographically separate locations around the world. Sony Music UK says it has a custom-built archive for audio and audio-visual recordings, as well as a library of all its releases, and it stores digital safety copies and duplicate recordings separately. Warner archives the recordings at different locations around the globe, and Universal also keeps its assets and safety copies at different locations. So, and going back to that document, the documentary is not necessarily about this, but it is about the Global Seed Vault, and it's really interesting. I want to go visit it someday. It's a small, it's like almost a small shack opening, and it's usually covered like in snow. It's like you wouldn't expect what, like when you open it up, it's an entirely different world down there. So it's, check it out. All right. TikTok. Let's talk about some tech. TikTok has new Q&A feature, which lets creators respond to fan questions using text or video. TikTok is testing a new video Q&A feature that allows creators to more directly respond to their audience's questions with either text or video answers, and the company confirmed. The feature works across both video and live streams, but is currently only available to select creators who have opted into the test. Q&As have become a top way creators engage fans on social media and have proven to be particularly popular in places like Instagram stories and other social apps, like the Snapchat integrated YOLO, or even in smaller startups. On TikTok, however, Q&As are now a big part of the commenting experience, as many creators respond to individual comments by publishing a new video that explains their answers in more detail than a short text comment could. Sometimes these answers are meant to clarify or add context, while other times creators will take their bullies and trolls with their video responses. As a result, the TikTok comment section has grown to play a larger role in shaping TikTok's trends and cultures. Q&As are also a key means for creators to engage with fans when live streaming, but it can be difficult for creators to keep up with a flood of questions and comments through the current live chat interface. Again, it goes on in more detail here. And again, this is in TechCrunch. I can agree. We see like chatting on Twitch when you're live streaming. The Twitch streamers, they can chat easily with the people in the chat, and a lot of times that's because the people typing as well, they're on desktops a lot more than on the mobile, so they can type quicker. They can be more of a question and response. I mean, we're all thumbs when we're trying to type on a mobile, so sometimes it's a little more difficult. And we see is Clubhouse? Is Clubhouse going to have a text functionality? We don't know. There was that mysterious error in the rollout that some people said, "Hey, there's a text function coming," and Clubhouse neither confirmed nor denied what that was all about. But they did take it down right away. Let's talk a little more about TikTok and how are TikTok royalties calculated. And this is a guest post on Hypebot. As TikTok has become increasingly popular across the globe, we're pleased to offer our clients the opportunity to distribute their music to this platform with the option to set preview times to highlight your catchy chorus for follows, lip sync, and all that stuff. In comparison to other major platforms such as Spotify, who pay per total number of streams, TikTok operates differently when calculating royalties and base calculations on the number of videos made using your music, as opposed to the number of times the video is watched. This can often become confusing if you're measuring the way royalties are worked out against other stores, so it's important to understand the main difference here is that big watch numbers don't equal large royalty payments. Royalties for TikTok are based on market shares rather than metric views. To calculate the market shares, TikTok uses what is called a creation. A creation is when a user selects a release from the Hours music catalog from TikTok's library to make a video. Users can then make their own creations inspired by existing creations, all amounting to new creations. So, to put this simply, every time a user decides to use your music to make a video, this generates a royalty. With this in mind, when you see your views numbers racking up, it's important to remember what's generating your royalties is other users selecting your music for their video, not the 200,000 views you may have. When we think back to those TikTok classics such as Savage, the millions of users creating dance videos to the track is a great example of how royalties are generated through a creation. And with that, let's move over to Twitter. We just have a couple more articles left in the day. Twitter debuts 2 new revenue streams for artists. Artists will soon have 2 new ways to earn revenue from Twitter with the platform's introduction of both super follows and ticketed spaces, each which provides a way for artists and Twitter to profit off their biggest fans. They recently launched 2 new offerings that artists can earn from. Through both are currently available only to a select amount of users. The first is super follows, which enables creators to generate monthly revenue for themselves by allowing users to subscribe to a feed for $2.99, $4.99, and $9.99 per month. Only users are over the age of 18 and have at least 10,000 followers can enable the new Super Follows feature. According to reports, Twitter will only take 3% of creators' revenue after in-app purchase fees, but that's on top of the 30% already charged by Apple and Google. Twitter also ups their cut as you begin making serious money. For example, after users exceed $50,000 lifetime earnings on Twitter, the app will take 20% of all future earnings after fees. That's a jump from 33% to 50% of revenue taken before it enters the creator's pocket. Compare that to something like Patreon, which only takes 5 to 12% of creators' earnings with no concern about in-app purchases. The other feature, Ticketed Spaces, hopes to leverage the recent popularity of audio-based social media platform Profit. Anyone eligible to create a ticketed space can set their ticket price between $1 and $999. Creators also control how many tickets can be sold, which might justify that near $1K price tag for a one-on-one meeting. Ticketed Spaces attendees are notified of the event through its in-app notifications, and anyone over the age of 18 with 1,000 followers. So it goes into a little bit more here. I look at this, hey, this is a really great opportunity, but once you hit $50,000 in revenue and then it ups the percentage, and with those in-app purchase fees, 50%. I mean, that is a great statement for, Patreon. There's many different ways you can do things. You can do Zoom meetings. You don't have to do Twitter Spaces. I mean, you can create almost your own membership in a sense through Patreon and say, hey, we're going to have this Zoom meeting and that's only for, behind this paywall or something, protected gate, a gatekeep wall or something. I don't know. But it's, the fact that you're giving a 50% once you hit 50,000, I would want to just stay at, unfortunately it's once you hit that lifetime. So it's not like you can just say, 50,000 per year and then just sit and like, okay, that's 49,000. It's like, I'm not going to hold any more. I'm not going to sell any more tickets. So, but with that being said, we are at our favorite time.
Green dot, it's the spot.
It is time for our Spotify Spot portion of the show where we look at digital streaming technology and how it applies to music. But before we do that, we do want to check in on a weather update for all of our listeners around the globe today. We wanted to let you know in your weather update that with or without a sting sighting, there will be a moon over Bourbon Street tonight. And over to you, Peter, for the Spotify Spot.
All right, Han, thanks for that. All right, last article of the day. What's a day without talking about Spotify? All right, this is from Musically. Spotify and Jamel Hill launch podcast network for Black women. Spotify began working with former ESPN host Jamel Hill in early 2019 when she signed a deal to make a new podcast called Unbothered for the streaming service. Now, as the show enters its 3rd season, Hill and Spotify are deepening their partnership with the creation of a podcast network focused on Black women. It's called the Unbothered Network, and will still see Hill's production company, Lodge Freeway Media, making a series of shows for Spotify. Hill goes on to say, quote, "There's so much about the lives of black women that hasn't been fully explored, and so many of our stories have been either dismissed or overlooked. I'm also proud of this network because it not only centers black women, but it also is run by black women. We can't empower black women if we're not positioning them in leadership roles." Specific shows have not yet been announced, although executive producer and head of content Christina Tapper promises a variety of formats and genres. And that is it for today. That is the Music News Power Hour reads. And if anybody has wants to offer some commentary, feel free to jump up on this, raise your hand, and we'll bring you on up. If not, Eli, anything that stuck out for you?
I mean, I'm always just interested to see what's happening with the shuttered venue grants that are awaiting the venues that are awaiting payouts from the shuttered venue grant opportunities. And so I'm looking definitely for headlines about that. But you know what? It's really interesting to see how digital technology is playing so much into musicians' lives these days. It's kind of it's really changed the way that musicians do business within the last maybe even 5 or 10 years. And it feels like that rush to include digital technology in a musician's toolkit has just intensified and snowballed and begun moving so much faster in the last 18 months. So I think it's really interesting how these streaming headlines and these digital music headlines are becoming so much a part of our broadcast. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, but I'm really nerdy. I think that's fascinating how things are changing.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry.
Anyone who has a comment is welcome to join us. I don't know if I'm the only one who feels this way.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know my foot pedal over here was the that sound effect. So, but let me kick over to this scene change. That's for everybody that is tuning into our video live stream. So we have the video live stream. Yeah. So we have and you can actually check it out right at musicindustrycity.com. So on YouTube, you can just go to Music Industry City, check out all, if you missed the news, you can go and check it out. We also have other videos that are going up. We're rolling out a whole new series of videos, and we're live streaming. When we are live, you can just go to musicindustrycity.com, and when we are live, you're going to see the video is going to be live. It says live videos go here. So everybody, we're waving to everybody in the stream. Thanks for joining us. It's great to see you as always. Talking about technology, what I really like about everything is with the competition of what is going on between TikTok, Instagram, I mean, just name the platform du jour, is that they are building in more ways to monetize. Now, of course, that's great for the company because the more monetization, more cut they get. But for artists to be able to say, I've spent years building this fan base on, name the platform, Instagram, we'll say. Now I can sell merch directly from Instagram. Now, am I going to be making a lot of money on merch for selling it through Instagram? Probably not. But the fact is you can sell merch. And the fact that your audience is there, so you're not trying to direct them off platform to another, to go to my website, go to my Shopify, go to my Red Balloon, whatever those sites are, is they go right in and it lowers the barrier and it's one click. If you get in, I mean, 3 clicks, trying to get somebody to get off of Instagram, you're trying to say, go to my website, click on this, you're lost. Now, that is really great to be able to actually test out. I look at it as a great area to test out. It's like, here's my t-shirt, here's my hat, like what I'm wearing right now, the Music Industry City hat and my Music Industry City mug. Now, if I go over here, I have my Music Industry City sticker. Now, I also have Music Industry City shorts and, a concert tee. And I can put those up and you actually can test out, especially if it's, drop shipped or made to order, you can test those out and see what the demand is. So if you can test those out on Instagram, say, hey, I see that the Music Industry City hat is a great sale. So I'm going to now move forward and put this into my other merch stores and things like that. So you can make some money. You can test it out. It's great marketing testing for artists on there. And instead of trying to push them somewhere else, you don't have to stay there. But if the opportunity is to be able to make money through the platform, then go for it. Now, that being said, here's another platform I have to learn about how to use. And I have to spend more time doing this when I just want to write music and I want to go out and play.
And I don't know
So
about for anybody else, but for me, it's like every platform I join, that's another inbox I have to check, right?
yeah, I mean, even from for us, everything that goes on with updates. So if we're doing live streaming, it's like Windows updates. Well, then the software updates. Then this platform has an update, and then YouTube says you can't. They're changing their terms and conditions and their community guidelines, and then Twitch says, oh, you can't stream this, or there's all these, and it's staying on top of everything. But another inbox. I mean, you could filter and forward if you have like emails and stuff like that. So there are ways around that, but it's just another. Yeah, I have like 30 email boxes. So
Not even email, but like Facebook Messenger and
hmm
Instagram inboxes and things like
yeah.
that, that it's kind of a pain to forward to your email, and
Oh, that's what.
you
That's
might not
okay.
necessarily want to. So
Yeah.
I'm saying every platform you join, you might add another inbox that you can only check on that platform.
Right.
And that's just
Sorry.
another layer. So, that's another layer of learning curve, I think.
Yeah. That's what you meant. Okay. I just heard email and my brain just went to directly to email and my Apple Mail. And but yeah, no, I'm with you on that because managing multiple accounts on Instagram, and then somebody will message you on one, and hey, if you want to follow, by the way, if you want to follow the Music Industry City Instagram, just click on my profile picture here, scroll down, and you can go follow the Music Industry City Instagram. And there's a lot coming up. I have 40 pieces of content coming out just in the next month. I've prepped 40 pieces of content over the weekend. So get ready. We're going to be starting to do a lot more on Instagram, providing some value, of course, some promotions, and a lot of news updates coming soon. So check that out. But like somebody will like message me that follows my personal account and also this account. Then it's like they'll message me there, and then like, oh, they'll message me over there, and then they'll send me a signal message, and then it's WhatsApp, and then somebody will text me, hey, did you get the email that I sent you? And then they'll follow up with a phone call and leave a voice text on WhatsApp to say, hey, did you get my text? Because I left you a message and I emailed you. And I'm just like, I just want to be out. Like, I'm on a run right now. I'm having fun. I don't want to deal with all this.
Yeah, I understand how artists feel when trying to learn how to use all these different platforms, because just the simple fact of the inbox alone, having to check all the different inboxes for me, as someone who is not trying to work as an independent artist right now, even just navigating all the different inboxes on the different platforms can get complex and overwhelming. It can be just a lot, a lot, a lot. And you know what, Peter? One of the most terrifying things to me is when I get a text from someone who says, did you get my message? Because then I'm cringing. Oh my gosh, all the email goes to one inbox, but now I have all these 17 other inboxes to check on platforms. What did you mean? Did you get my message? That turns my gut. But we want to remind you that you can join in the conversation anytime by raising your hand. You can also ping your friends into the room or chime in the chat. Make sure that you visit our website where you can follow along with headlines, register for free, or watch us live on the video stream feed. And hello to all of our stream feed viewers today. Make sure that you join us each and every weekday here at noon Eastern. We are the news at noon, the only news that you care to listen to and discuss. We are back again tomorrow right here, so please do join us. Make sure that you tap the greenhouse at the top of the room to follow the club and get updates, and also follow your moderators. These are the speakers on stage with the green moderator icon. You can also tap each other's profiles in the room to learn more about each other and follow each other, and make sure that you join us again here tomorrow. Music Industry City Broadcast Network and the Music News Power Hour at noon Eastern each weekday with my co-host Peter Schwing and myself, Eli Window. And we thank you so much for joining our discussion and our broadcast today. Thank you for listening and watching, and we will see you again soon at the
Uh,
Music News Power
well,
Hour.
actually, we're not going to leave just yet, Eli. All
Ooh,
right.
okay,
If
great.
yeah, I have something based on what you said. I'm going to read one more article because I had this. I bookmarked this article because I found it interesting. It was about from a month ago. It's in Harvard Business Review, and the title is "Did you get my Slack email text?" So I'm just gonna read through this one. So bear with me. I thought this was going to be a fun way to finish up the reads today. So it's from a writer. I'm going to read it as strictly from their perspective. All right. Back when we were in the office, we all knew the unwritten rules of communication. If someone had large headphones on, they probably were focused on work and didn't want to be interrupted to gossip about the latest drama. Or if your team was about to have an important meeting with the client, you would quickly run through last minute questions before walking into the room. We all learned that these communication norms by observing our colleagues, but now with the rapid shift to hybrid work, there is a need to create rules for digital communication. Somehow, it seems that the more platforms we have at our disposal, the more complicated digital communication gets. The author goes on to talk about published a research study called the Digital Communication Crisis to understand the challenges that we face in workplace digital communication. And through a survey of almost 2,000 office workers, she found that over 70% experience some form of unclear communication from their colleagues. This leads to the average employee wasting 4 hours per week on poor or confusing digital communications, which adds up to an average annual amount of $188 billion wasted across the American economy. So they're talking about here's an example of one organization that was struggling with this very issue. The organization brought me, and I'm just saying I'm speaking as the author here. I'm just reading this directly. I am not going to paraphrase. It's a bonus read, and I'm reading this out loud for the first time. So the organization brought me in to assess a team's digital communications channel. The division leader wanted me to know why there was so much daily dysfunction, missed deadlines, emails ignored, reports of uncomfortable chat room conversations, and a lot of peer-based passive aggressiveness. It didn't take me long to discover that the team in question was using its collaboration tools in every which way but the right one. In the team's hands, Microsoft Teams chat had become a devious way for members to avoid video call collaboration. Members were also sharing the same messages and documents using multiple collaboration tools, making it hard for anybody to know where to go for what. Finally, some members were commenting on tasks using 10-word instant messages, IM messages, without explaining if their message was an opinion or a request for action. So eventually the team, they created norms. So they should put in this article the norms, and I'm going to update the link here in just a second for everybody if you want to be able to go to it and access this. I will be able to pull this up and just add this to the show notes listing. Here we go. And there it should be updated in just a second. Oh, sorry. Here we go. All right. So it has a chart here. It talks about instant messenger, like when to use it, time sensitive, urgent messages, and then talks about other things. So it goes really into details. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull up the article here, the show notes. There we go. So I can update it. So to response time is ASAP. Norms used with fewer than 6 people, otherwise called. Set your availability. Avoid complicated questions or conversations that require visuals. It talks about what to do with emails, video calls, schedule in advance, text, time sensitive, urgent messages. So what they were talking about in the open dialogue was saying, like, what has been your most collaborative experience you've had in each of these channels? Instant message, Microsoft Teams, Slack, Skype, email, video calls, texting. What is too long for an instant message? And once you establish your team's communication norms, the hard part is making sure they stick to it so people have a habit of sliding back to their old ways. So there's a lot of beneficial information in here about, the company culture and what you can do to help, alleviate this communication breakdown. And it's the communication breakdown is because we have too many points of communication. We used to have a phone. And you just prayed that nobody had a whole bunch of zeros, nines, and eights in their phone because it would take a real long time to dial that. You know what I'm talking about. And when you got on the phone, you went over things. And, maybe you sent a fax. Here's my follow-up fax. And it was 2 forms of communication. And if you had to get documents over to somebody, you called the messenger in the city. And that was it. Now there's just way too many points of contact along with the interruption community. And the fact is, it's tough to be able to, and a lot of people, I'll say like, hey, can you just hit me up on WhatsApp? I only use WhatsApp. And the other person's like, well, I only use Signal. And somebody's like, Slack. And I've had clients where they're like, hey, here we're using Slack. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like, you're contracting to me. I will not use Slack for our business communications because I want to have everything on the record in an email chain. And everybody's in there just as a stream of consciousness. So, there's places you can make channels and servers for that, but it's crazy. And I can't understand how Discord is used for customer service. I just don't get it. It's nearly impossible to deal with any of those. So that's it. That's my final thoughts. Thanks for hanging out, and hope you found that
I
a little
love
bit
that you
interesting.
included this. I love that you included this bonus headline, Peter, because if more people would read this headline and adhere to some of these social norms and guidelines and just common courtesies, then people like me would never feel that rock in the pit of our stomach when we get a text that says, hey, did you get my message? And then we start scrolling through 17 inboxes on 17 different platforms.
I I just can't anymore. It's like, what is the stock response? It's like without being like, like an asshole, like being the snarky response.
I've started saying, look, I'm not trying to be mean, but could you please just email me this information so it's all in one place? Can we just switch to email, please?
Okay, boomer, in your email.
Womp womp, right?
And on that note, it is updated in the show notes. That link is now available for you. You can go there at musicindustrycity.com, click on the show notes graphic, and you are all set. Here, there we go. Update. I'm doing this in real time for you. It's how much I care. It's how much I care. With that being said, let's get out of here. Everybody, see you tomorrow in the Good Day Music World at 11 a.m. Eastern, and then back in the Music News Power Hour at 12 p.m. Eastern. Thanks again, Eli. Great seeing you. Well, I see everybody tomorrow. Have a good one.
Have a great day, Peter, and have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and I hope your day goes beautifully for the rest of the day today. See you tomorrow at noon Eastern.